تظاهرات در مقابل مقرملل متحد در نیویورک علیه حضور آخوند روحانی در مجمع عمومی 29 شهریور 1396. فراخوان به اخراج رژیم رکورددار اعدام از ملل متحد، دادخواهی قتل عام 30,000 زندانی سیاسی در سال 67 و محاکمه عاملان نسل کشی و جنایت علیه بشریت.
in a dictatorial, theological regime, but not all Iranians. Millions may be enslaved, but 3,000 free Iranian souls live in Albania as the point of the spear, and to them you have our admiration. And I am joined by another great voice in American leadership, a Democrat and an independent, a former senator and former candidate for vice president of the United States, and a consistent, strong voice who will never tire until this regime falls. Joe Lieberman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my dear friend and former colleague, Bob Torricelli. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to greet you as my fellow Americans, right here in pursuit of a very American goal, which is freedom for the people of Iran. I want to say to you today, though probably the weather forecasters would say it's partly cloudy, that when it comes to the cause of freedom in Iran, the sun is shining brighter than ever before. Now, why do I say that? Well, the first thing is we had an election here in America last November. And as President Obama always says, elections have consequences. I don't agree with President Trump on every policy or every statement or even every tweet he's ever made. But when it comes to Iran, the change from the last administration to this one is a change from night to day, from darkness to sunlight, from illusion to reality and realism. President Trump made that clear throughout the campaign last year, but really what's important is that he made it clear throughout his presidency, 8 months of it, 220 some odd days, and never clearer than the extraordinary speech he gave right here to the United Nations yesterday. Unlike the last administration, which felt that if it signed that nuclear agreement with Iran, Iran would change, become more moderate. Was that realistic? You are absolutely right. And the fact is, in the year and almost 2 years since the agreement was implemented, nothing about the atrocious, aggressive, extremist behavior of Iran has changed. President Trump sees that and speaks to it. He also knows and has said clearly what we have felt, I certainly have, which is that the agreement that was negotiated was a terrible agreement. It was not good for the United States. It was not good for the people of Iran. It was not good for the world. And yesterday, he gave us hope to believe, the president did. What I think when we met here last year at this time, we never would have imagined was possible, that the President of the United States may well soon decertify Iran, essentially pulling the United States out of this bad agreement. And that is an incredibly positive turn of events. Okay, the other thing that has happened is the allies that have come to our cause, and I thought it was most dramatically expressed in the meeting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. President Trump was there, but more than 50 Arab nations stating more clearly than ever before in a more unified voice that the current regime in Iran not only represents a threat to the people of Iran, it represents a threat to the entire region and to the world. We are not alone. We are not alone in fighting for freedom for Iran. We have some great countries who are in the same region who are willing to stand up with us and say it's time to change the regime in Iran. Change is right. Now I want to come back to something I said a little bit earlier. I think one of the hopes, and it was really a naive hope, of the last administration was what I said, that if they could convince Iran to sign the nuclear agreement, Iran's behavior would change. Well, I don't know how they felt that, because the Supreme Leader Khamenei was saying right during the negotiations that nothing would change. And unfortunately, he kept his word. Iran, the regime, still the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. Still called by Amnesty International one of the worst violators of human rights, wantonly jailing journalists, political opponents, bloggers, and killing people who are opponents, carrying out more executions than any other country in the world. So I think it's not us, but it's the regime in Iran that is saying to us, we will not change. We will never change. And therefore, we have to say, with increasing support, I believe, certainly here in the United States, and from nations throughout the Middle East, and I hope the rest of the world, if the regime in Iran will not change, and I know it won't, then we must change the regime.
Regime change in Iran. Change, change, change. Regime change in Iran. Change, change, change. Regime change in Iran. Change, change, change. Regime change in Iran.
Are we ready? Are the people of Iran ready for freedom? You bet they are.
Change, change, change.
Thank you.
Regime change in Iran. Change, change, change. Regime change in Iran. Change, change, change. Regime change in Iran. Change, change, change. Regime change in Iran.
But really, to the people of the world, that it's time for a truth commission about what happened to those 30,000 human beings killed by the Iranian government in the late 80s. It's time for a truth commission in Iran, the way there was a truth commission in South Africa after the end of apartheid. So there is the beginning of a protest movement, and it's not in its infancy anymore. It's expanding. There are different ideological groups, different ethnic groups, and in my opinion, by far, the most organized and effective So I hope that President Trump will move on from his eloquence yesterday and not only decertify Iran, followed hopefully by Congress, with your help, reinstituting economic sanctions against Iran, but that we will do what we did during the dark years for the people of Eastern and Central Europe who had to live under the tyranny of the communists, and that is in Iran, to support the opposition groups, to support the freedom fighters, to support the People's Mujahideen of Iran and all others who are our allies in Iran against our enemies who control the country. Are we ready for that? Yes, we are. So I have spoken to you from facts. There's been no fake news in what I've had to say today. And the facts give us reason to feel that history is moving in our direction, which means the direction of freedom for the people of Iran. But we can't stop now. We can't stop now, and we won't stop now. If I may paraphrase a great saying by Dr. Martin Luther King this way: the political arc of the universe sometimes bends slowly, but it always bends toward freedom. You and I know that that doesn't happen automatically. It requires people who believe to bend the arc, people who are courageous in Iran and outside to support the cause of freedom and the overthrow of the extreme repressive regime there. But I have a dream that we will gather one day soon, not just to appeal for freedom in Iran, but we will gather in Tehran to celebrate the freedom of Iran with your help and God's help. Thank you very, very much. God bless you.
Free, free Iran! Free, free Iran! Free, free Iran!
عاملان بدونه به دست خلق ایران به زودی سرنگونه مرد بر حسب ولایت فقیه زنده باد ارتش آزادی مرد بر حسب ولایت فقیه زنده باد ارتش آزادی.
here from Mr. Iskandar Filavi, three-time Olympian in wrestling for Iran, who has the flag bearer for Iran in the Olympics, and who holds a total of 17 gold, silver, and bronze medals in the international games. He is currently the chairman of the Athletics Committee of the National Council of Resistance for Iran. Mr. Filavi, please.
تشکر. واقعا هر وقت در این 38 سال شما رو ببینم احساس غرور میکنم که شما ایرانی های با غیرت و با شرف واقعا چقدر وطنتون رو دوست دارید با حرف و عمل. به نام ایران و به نام آزادی با درود به شما ایرانیان میهن پرست در این محل جمع شده اید تا صدای مظلومیت ملت بزرگ ایران را به گوش جهانیان برسانید. شما در عمل و با پشتکار ثابت کردید که فرزندان راستین رهبران آزادیخواه و انسان دوست از کوروش کبیر تا دکتر محمد مصدق و اکنون حامی خانم مریم رجبی رئیس جمهور برگزیده شورای ملی مقابل است. در 38 سال گذشته با حرف و عمل نشان دادید که شما نیز همانند اجداد مبارزتان بابک خرمدین تا حنیف بنیانگذار سازمان پر افتخار مجاهدین خلق برای آزادی مردم ایران با ارتجاع و استعمار مبارزه می‌کنید. شما نشان دادید که به واقع وارث اسطوره‌های بزرگ ایران از رستم ید نامدار تا پوریای ولی و جهان پهلوان تختی هستید و تمام خصوصیات جوانمردی و یاری مظلومان و جنگ با ظالمان را دارید. زیرا در این 38 سال کشور ما توسط ایلغار خمینی به گروگان گرفته شده است و فجایع بیشماری بر جان و مال و حیثیت ملی مردم ایران وارد آورده است. خامنه‌ای در رأس این نظام منفور مسئول شکنجه، کشتار، دزدی اموال و زندان کردن مردم بیگناه ایران است. ما امروز مقابل سازمان ملل متحد جمع شده ایم تا به دنیا اعلام کنیم روحانی منتسب ولی فقیه است و هرگز مردم ایران را نمایندگی نمی کند. ما از سازمان ملل متحد و کشورهای مدعی آزادی و برابری می‌خواهیم حق مردم ایران را برای سرنگونی این رژیم به رسمیت بشناسند. ملل متحد باید یک کمیسیون تحقیق برای به محاکمه کشاندن عاملان و عاملان کشتار 67 تأسیس کند. حضور روحانی در ملل متحد همزمان با سالگرد قتل عام 30,000 زندانی سیاسی سال 67 که کشورهای متمدن با سکوت در برابر این کشتار ننگ بزرگی را به جان خریدند ولی مقاومت ایران به کمک ایرانیان با شرف و با غیرت در برابر ظلم و جور ملاها سکوت نکردند. ملاها را به پرتگاه سقوط رساندند و همچنان که خانم مریم رجوی بارها اعلام کرده است، ملت و مقاومت ایران قادر است این رژیم فاسد را به زباله‌دان تاریخ بریزد. بدون تردید بدون تردید مردم ایران توان آن را دارند که سرنوشت خود را رقم بزنند. ما از سران کشورها که در اینجا گرد آمدند می‌خواهیم به مماشات به ملاها پایان دهند و بیش از این خود را به ننگ رژیم ملاها آلوده نکنند و شورای ملی مقاومت را به رسمیت بشناسند. ما اعضای این مقاومت همراه با مسعود و مریم و اشرفی‌ها و اشرف نشان‌ها در داخل و خارج از ایران با تمام قوا برای آزادی کشور و انتقال حاکمیت به مردم و برپایی ایرانی صلح دوست، دموکراتیک و به دور از هر گونه اجبار عقیدتی و مذهبی مبارزه می‌کنیم. درود بر همه شما، موفق باشید.
Everyone knows that there would be no Syria refugee problem if Assad was not kept in power by the Iranian regime. Yes. Am I right? Yes. There would be no sectarian violence if the Iranian regime would not incite sectarian divide. Am I right? Yes. And there would not be hundreds of thousands of people murdered if it weren't for the tens of thousands of the proxies of the Iranian regime and the Revolutionary Guards dispatched in Syria to incite violence. Am I right? So we are now going to hear directly from the Syrian opposition to tell us about what the Iranian regime has been doing inside Syria. He is the General Coordinator of the Syrian Reconstruction Commission and an active member of the Syrian opposition, originally from Aleppo, Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Hisham Najjar. Free Syria! Free
Dear sisters and brothers, we are here gathering in front of the United Nations to express our rejection to the regime, Syrian regimes, and an Iranian regime. Yes. Those regimes are created the terrors in the world. It is our solidarity against crimes, against the executions in the streets of Tehran to the people of Iranian, hanging by the cranes. It is solidarity against the chemical of Assad, who choking our children by chemical and many times, and the United Nations report remain just dead words on the paper. Dear sisters and brothers, the global terrorism which ruined our life would not have taken place without the support of the Syrian and Iranian regimes. Let us be frank with you. Let's be frank with the people of the world and their rulers. Do you want seriously to eliminate terrorism from the root, as we do? Then we have to work together to eliminate the terror fabricated in the laboratory of the mullahs and Assad regimes.
Free, free, free Iran! Free, free Syria! Free, free, free Iran! Free, free Syria! Free, free Iran! Free, free Syria! At this moment, there is one person behind us in the United Nations. His name is Rohani. Rohani is one of the head of the terror in the world. He is a murderer. He is a murderer. And he brings all the tourists from the war to the Syria to kill the Syrians and to occupy their land. This is the person should be not be here, should be behind the bars and the jails.
روحانی حسد ISIS no! They are terrorists, they must go! روحانی حسد ISIS no! They are terrorists, they must go! روحانی حسد ISIS no!
This person had the Syrian regime. He is the master of terror in the world. He created ISIS and the brothers of ISIS. He created the terror in all the world. We ask the world, are you seriously to finish or to end the terror in the world? If your answer yes, we have to start it from Iran regime and Syrian regime.
الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام. الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام. الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام. الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام.
Sisters and brothers, Rohani and his group in Tehran and Qom, they are helping all terrorists in the world. And they try to be innocent and hide their face and that face against the world. Those has to be fighting first to end the terror in the world. Rohani helped Syrian regime to kill 1 million innocents in Syria. 1 million! And the war keeps silent. And 12 million immigrate Syria and living under dirty camps in the war. Why? Because of Rohani group and Syrian group. sisters and brothers, be sure the Iranian and Syrian people will claim their victory. No doubt about that. Don't be suspicious about that. We will claim our victory today or tomorrow or after 1 week. No doubt about that. Because, why? Because those people are advocates of a freedom and advocates for civilizations and advocates for cooperation with the people of all the world. Do you want your freedom? Yes. Do you want your freedom? Yes. Let us start from now. No doubt we will claim our victory. No doubt. Be sure about that. And assalamu alaikum.
And I'm a 15-year-old Syrian-American girl. I'm here today to give a voice to the voiceless Syrian people. The Syrian people want to overthrow the regime because of its heinous crimes, killing of children, women, and old people without mercy. With the help of the Iranian regime, the external militias, displacement of the population, exclusively and deliberately, this dictatorship will be overthrown. Finally, free, free Syria. Thank you.
Free, free Iran. Free, free Syria. Free, free Syria. Free, free Syria. Free, free Iran. Free, free. Free, free Iran. Free, free Syria. Free, free Iran. Free, free Syria.
آزادی، آزادی، آزادی شمع. آزادی ما. بروزی شمع، بروزی ما. حريتنا حريتكم، استقلالنا استقلالكم، ديمقراطيتنا ديمقراطيتكم. I have today a homework for the United Nations Assembly and the United Nations Security Council. Whatever I'm gonna say here, just 10 points. Very simple and very clear and very to the point. And both regimes, they sharing the same thing in my speech really. First of all, what's going on in Syria in the last 7 years is basically not a civilian war as the United Nations was to say or whoever was to say. What's going in Syria is revolution against the most and the worst regime in the world. So it's Syria revolution. This is one. What's going in Syria basically is genocide. Genocide done by the Syrian regime, Assad regime, helped by the Iranian regime, and unfortunately was helped by the Russian regime. And all the terrorist group they've been supporting since day one. So, the Syrian regime committing war crime along with whatever help coming from the Iranian regime and their terrorist group from everywhere, from Asia, from Europe, and from the Middle East. This regime, the Iranian regime and the Syrian regime should be brought to justice, international justice, and the Syrian people is going to do that with you people. Is that right? But it's very clear to the world that this revolution, along with your revolution and resistance, is clear to topple the bad people and the dictatorship in both countries. So my friend Iranian, my friend Syrian, my friend in the free world, ISIS, and whatever comes with ISIS, basically it's a product, it's a legitimate product of the outlaw regime. If it's a legitimate product of outlaw regime, what's called before by President Bush the axis of evil. The axis of evil has another hand now, it's called ISIS and its terrorist group. They carrying all those immoral acts against the Syrian and against the Iranian. In both countries, they killing and keep killing people. The killer will be and should be brought to justice as soon as possible. Again, آزادی شمع، آزادی ما، بروزی شمع، بروزی ما.
In Iran. We are here today as evangelical Christians, hundreds of us who've come from the Tabernacle in Buffalo, New York, and from Eagle's Wings throughout the region. And you may say, why would evangelical Christians be concerned or connected to what is happening in Iran? I want to tell you that the great man of God, Dr. Martin Luther King, said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Under the evil dictator Rohani, the human rights situation in Iran has deteriorated into a place of horror and terror. And this must end, and it must end now. Unfortunately, across Iran, there are suffering minorities, religious minorities, and Christian minorities who are being persecuted. In July 3rd of this year, Amin Nafshar Naderi was sentenced to 15 years in an Iranian prison. He was kept in solitary confinement during his year-long trial. His health deteriorated quickly. He was oppressed under this harsh Iranian prison system. Finally, they required him to sell his home and sell all of his possessions to even get a fair hearing and a trial. His life has been horribly impacted simply because he expressed freedom of thought. We join together and call on the leaders of the United Nations to put an end to the terrorist regime of Rohani. It is time for Maryam Rajavi to arise and lead the people of Iran. Rohani, no, no, no. Rajavi, yes, yes, yes. Rohani, no, no, no. Rajavi, yes, yes, yes. Rohani, no, no, no. Rajavi, yes, yes, yes. Rohani, no, no, no. for freedom, struggles for justice, struggles for basic human dignity and human rights. We, as followers of Jesus, join with you, the freedom-loving people of Iran, and we prophesy and call for a new day, a new morning, a new dawning of freedom and awakening for Iran. God bless you. God bless Iran.
Please allow me to introduce to you some Hispanic and African American leaders who stand with me in support of a free Iran. Bishop Marcus Johnson to my left, they will lift up their hands as I present them. Pastor Tony Smith, Pastor Deborah Nunez, Baltimore, Maryland Police Chief Melvin Russell, Michelle Williams, Executive Secretary of the Multicultural Prayer Movement, Anna Martinez, Reverend Anna Martinez, Pastor Rocky Santiago, Dr. Clinton Miller, and there's a whole bunch of pastors all over this place in support of you. Let me be honest. Please hear me. When I first met the Iranian opposition, those who were fighting for a free Iran, my heart was troubled because as a leader among my people, I was always involved in numerous other struggles. The question I needed to answer was, would I find the inner strength to take on another challenge? Should I just tell them I am too busy? Would I turn away and just tell myself, everyone has a battle to fight, this one is just not mine? Yet deep inside of my soul, I knew I could not turn away from thousands of innocent lives who are crying out and are being heard today in a world that's full of so many other voices. I simply could not turn away. Someone has to stand up for the voiceless, those who are persecuted, subject to inhumane treatment, even executed simply because of what they believe. Someone has to stand up and speak truth to power and not be afraid to passionately challenge the elites of the world, causing them to join us in this battle for social justice and religious freedom in Iran and everywhere in the world. I am not a Muslim. I seek no benefit for myself other than to seek the freedom of another human being who is oppressed, tortured, and killed in Iran. So, I add myself and my people to the list of voices from around the world. And I challenge all those who hear my voice today. It is time to take action. It is time to gather our people. It is time to demand freedom and democracy. We want a free Iran! raise your voice and tell those who oppress the innocent that they are God's children. You need to let them go. They must be set free. And we surely will not be silent. For as the sun rises every morning, God hears the cry of his children. And I can assure you that God will answer. So in closing, I want to challenge every person here to rise up, to speak, even when they don't want you to speak. I want you to stand up and say, enough is enough. We want our land back. We want a free Iran, and it will happen. Thank you.
Free, free Iran! Free, free Iran! Free, free Iran! Free, free Iran!
It's indeed a joy for me to join with my fellow clergymen and clergywomen from Washington, from Delaware, from Texas, from Philadelphia, from Virginia, from Maryland, and from here in New York City. To share our concerns and support the Iranian Americans here as we continue to fight for a cause that each and every one of us are very much aware of. Free Iran! Free Iran! I am an African American, a priest here in New York City, and we ourselves have been through so much. But as an African American, my blood is the same blood as any Iranian. And especially as my brothers and sisters continue to be persecuted in that, because of a tyrant in that situation in Iran, we will continue to support persons who continue, my brothers and sisters, to wish and to want better conditions for their sisters and brothers in Iran at this time.
Thank you.
And so we join with you in saying no to Rouhani, and yes, yes to
Rouhani, no, no, no. Rajavi, yes, yes, yes. Rouhani, no, no, no. Rajavi, yes, yes, yes.
Why are we here? We're here because in many situations, human rights have been violated in Iran. The human rights situation has deteriorated in Iran under the regime's President Hassan Rouhani, and we know that. Religious minorities have been subject to inhumane treatment, deprived of their rights to freely worship, and some even subjected to executions. Sunnis, Baha'i, Christians like us, Jews, they're all among those who have been discriminated against and suppressed. Rouhani has appointed individuals as part of his cabinet, and we heard this earlier, who have a horrible track record in violations of human rights. This must stop. And I'm appealing to my brothers and sisters here in New York to indeed ask their senators and their congresspeople to support the efforts at erasing and eradicating all the atrocities that are taking place right now in Iran. Help us to free Iran. Free Iran. Free Iran. Free Iran.